On tonight's edition of Mississippi Roads, we're peeking back in time with clashing armor and weapons, falconry and more. A modern man keeps alive the ancient art of bending sheer metal to his will. Plus, a look at how some animals which have been used in war throughout the ages are now being used for therapy. And how a husband and wife put a modern spin on creating world-renowned medieval armor and weapons. And finally, a craft brewery. It's drafting fans across the state.
Support for the arts segment of Mississippi Roads comes from the Mississippi Arts Commission, whose mission is to be a catalyst for the arts and creativity in Mississippi. Information available at www.arts.ms.gov.
Mississippi Roads is made possible in part by the generous support of viewers like you. Thank you.
Down Mississippi Road.
Welcome back to Mississippi Roads. I'm your host, Walt Grayson. This week we're coming to you from the South Mississippi Renaissance Fair. And the purpose of this fair is to keep games and traditions like this alive. Hey, back in medieval times, just like today, people had to balance work with play. Now, it may seem like that heaving heavy stones or logs around might be more work than play. Indeed, back in those days, strong Celtic men and women spent a lot of their spare time doing this. But as far as work is concerned, here at the Renaissance Festival, you'll see plenty of people sporting armor of all sorts. Chainmail, suits of armor, plenty of things made of metal. And someone had to work to forge all these items from raw materials. Blacksmithing is a time-honored endeavor. And so when we ran across a blacksmith in Brandon, who is known worldwide for his skills, we thought we'd take a little time and drop in, see how he plies his trade.
Blacksmithing has always been magical to people. You've heard of Excalibur, right? It was drawn from the stone. They drew it out of a meteorite, the Merlins. The Merlins were the magicians, the blacksmiths, and they drew the sword out of a stone. It made a superior sword because it had other metals like nickel and things like that mixed in there, and it made it a better, stronger sword. I started a little over 30 years ago as a farrier. And first day of farrier school, we forged, and I liked it ever since. I saw a long time ago it was going to take me all around the world. When I was working at the Mission San Juan Capistrano, there's over 1 million people come through those gates every year, and they're from all over the world, all ages. And people like seeing this, and a lot of people wanted to do it. And so I knew it was time for me to get out and about and start sharing it a little bit more. And I knew the Forge Council people, and I called them up, and they let us stay at the Agricultural Museum there in Jackson. They asked if we would be willing to live and work there, and hopefully that will work out where I can, live and actually work at the Ag Center and bring people from the world there instead of this place right here is just me and my shop. I cannot do big classes. It's mostly private classes. We have sometimes 2 people, but generally 1. But it has attracted people from all over the world to come and learn this, and it's getting busier all the time. Most of the blacksmithing going on today with the smaller stuff is done by people that do it for enjoyment, a hobby. Like Kanan over here, his computer went out one day with an electrical store, and he was wondering what to do, if anything like that happened. He started forging and been forging ever since.
I'm Kanan Bomber, and I'm from Austin, Texas. I've always been interested in medieval things, swords, knives, that sort of thing. So that's kind of what got me immediately interested in metal. I've always wanted to do some sort of metal work. So I just researched it some more and found blacksmithing and, you know, told my mom, hey, I want to build a forge in the backyard, and she let me, so that's kind of how I got started. I started off wanting to do bladesmithing exclusively, but as I've kind of developed, I kind of like doing tools. I saw Brian first at a local forge group in Texas. He did the big event for the year. They always have an annual event. And I saw what he was doing. I'd wanted to make a hammer and had been trying to track down someone who was doing that, but didn't really find anyone in my area. So seeing Brian actually doing something like that, I was immediately interested. That's where I learned of him. And then I wanted to take a class since. Brian does things in a different way than most people nowadays. I mean, he's taken time over, you know, how long he's been doing this to just see what works. And that's exactly what he does. He always says, it's not my opinion, it's fact. And that's what it is. You just see it for yourself, and it makes sense. You'll never really find the end, no matter how much time you spend at it. So it's always a challenge, you know, and that's an interest for me.
This is a lot simpler than it's made out to be. And I mean, if you ever get a piece of hot steel, take it out of the forge, start hitting it around, you can make something, and you know, you get better every time you do it. People talk about the basics of forging, you know. I think of it more as elementary processes. When you touch a piece of metal, it does what that hammer and that anvil do to it. All you gotta do is take notice of that. There's a big misconception in the world that, you know, this is like a lost art, but forging never did go away. One of the last events I went to in Europe, there was over 30 nations, you know, coming together to share the art of blacksmithing. There's probably more people now than ever in the history of man that are involved in blacksmithing. It never was lost, it never died, and it never will. I'm Brian Brazil, and I'm a blacksmith.
Another way that fairgoers are treated is that balance between work and play. The South Mississippi Renaissance Fair brings together quite a bit of lively entertainment. Now, for instance, the crowd gets a big kick out of the tricks and stunts performed by Dale Airwood's Birds of Prey. Dale has a collection of several birds that he brings every year, and it's always a crowd pleaser, especially when the falcon makes a close flyby, buzzing the crowd. It's a great example of the unspoken language between a human and an animal. Falcons and birds aren't the only animals at the Renaissance Fair. One of the big attractions for visitors are the war horses. These fellows over here are draft horses, kind of like Clydesdales, but they may be a little bigger than you're used to seeing. These war horses were originally bred for their size and their strength, and now stand more of a testament to those times than anything else. Now they live a more comfortable life, away from the spears, swords, and arrows of war. But down through the ages, horses have been used for all kinds of purposes, for entertainment, for agriculture, for war. But in the Brandon area, we found a place where humans are creating a special bond with horses. And it's that bond that's helping some overcome all kinds of obstacles.
Rideability Therapeutic Riding Center is a therapeutic horse riding center. We opened in 2007. My husband and I founded it then, and we have grown from 4 students to just under 30 students now. We teach people that have special needs how to ride horses. It can be an emotional need, a physical need, a psychological need, or a special need. But it's been shown that horses are very therapeutic, that they can teach you how to communicate, how to have trust.
All right, leaders, it's time to get your horses out. Katina, touchdown! 5, 4,
And then there's all the physical stuff that goes on. Horses move in a three-dimensional way. They move back and forwards and side to side and up and down. And when you put someone on them that has some trouble with muscles or tendons and nerves, it can stimulate those nerves that haven't been used in a long time, and it can improve their core strength, their balance. When Caleb first started riding with us, he was very unbalanced. When he sat on the horse, he would flop back and forth and side to side, and he definitely needed the sidewalkers to keep him on the horse and upright. And over the 4 years, he's gotten much stronger in his core, and he can now sit up without any assistance. We still have 2 sidewalkers for him because he gets a little excited and he gets wobbly, and he would come off if we didn't have them there to make sure he stays safe. But he is much stronger in his core, and he's much more enthusiastic about riding. We also work on his communication skills.
5, 4, 3.
When he first started, the only way he could communicate to the horse to walk on was to go, And now Caleb can definitely have a 2-syllable walk on. Caleb, can you say walk on? Very nice. He can say whoa. Can you say whoa? Now let's do a whoa. Say whoa. Very good. Okay, here you go. He's very social, or more so than he used to be, and he just loves riding, has a good old time on the horse.
Yay! Good job, boy. Give me 5. Give me 5. Yay!
All right, let's do it one more time. Shoot the basket.
Yay! Good
Come
job.
on, Caleb. Caleb, do 5. Yes. All right. Okay.
Good job, Caleb.
Christina, say walk on. Here we go.
But she has learning disabilities, development delayed, and she's in the 7th grade. And she's a blessing, been a very good blessing to our family. We've brought her home on Thanksgiving Day in 2003. She's adopted from Ukraine. She's been learning and progressing, and we're very proud of her.
Red light. Red light.
I first heard about rideability through my employer, Raytheon, when they were asking for volunteers to come out and help with the program. And about halfway through the talk, I realized that this program also may be good for my daughter. Anissa has pervasive language disorder, which is in the autism spectrum. And I soon found when I got here that because they require the riders to do both verbal and physical commands to direct the horse, that was good for her condition.
All right, Anissa, can you show me your 2-point? Show me your 2-point. Stay up. Good, good. For 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Now sit.
All the way up. Full straps.
She really enjoys riding here. We get up every Saturday morning, we come out here, and she's always pushing me to get there. If we're running late, she pushes me to get out of bed. So this has been a really good experience for us.
Five. Anissa, stay.
I like to give back to people that have special needs.
And other of the big attractions to the South Mississippi Renaissance Fair also involves horses. And that's the jousting. The knights put on their armor and saddle up, ride out to the field of combat. And while this might look like it's being done for show, these fellows can deliver enough of a wallop to knock their opponent out of the saddle. And of course, the armor certainly helps. Armor is just one of the facets of being a knight. There's others, well, like chivalry and weapons, swords in particular. You know, the face of warfare has changed a lot down through the ages. But there's some people who have kept alive the art of making beautiful blades and armor from raw materials. In our next story, we meet a husband and wife who do just that.
But he's got more protection, and that's the big thing that you gain out of it. So as he delivers the spot, I'm going to step offline. I actually got interested in the Middle Ages and knights and stuff as a young kid when I began to read books on King Arthur and Robin Hood and the Black Arrow and things like that. And it sort of sparked an interest that has stayed with me my entire life.
I met Scott and Leslie Wilson through the SCA, doing medieval recreation for fun, and we got to talking. I'd been making armor on my own for about 10 years, along with jewelry and some other things in the medieval vein, and we got to talking. Scott mentioned he was looking to hire a full-time armorer to add to his capabilities and to really take what he knew and put it into practice.
Nowadays, we still manufacture rapiers. That's been the mainstay of our business, but we've also begun to expand in some of the earlier weapons, such as arming swords, long swords, medieval weapons. We manufacture medieval crossbows and Renaissance crossbows. We manufacture, of course, arms and our armor as well as the arms. Well, the way we manufacture our swords is a fairly modern process. We take and we use a heat-treated material that we order and have heat-treated to our specifications. We use our abrasive water jet to cut the blank, the actual profile of the piece. And from there, then we go to what's essentially a hand process of stock removal, where we remove material and form the shape of the blade. And that gives us the blade. And then the guard of the sword is parts are cut on the water jet. They're assembled by arc welding, and then they're finished by hand with die grinders and files and such. The handle's made pretty much like it was historically. A block of wood is cut and pierced and shaped on the inside. The outside is shaped to the right shape, and then either leather or wire is wrapped around it.
We've been doing this for 18 years now. 20 years now, something close to that, and our stuff is starting to get a little more widespread. So people that are ordering now have handled other people's stuff before and really like it and want one of their own.
Really, our swords are, like I said, meant to be used. I mean, we have, besides the reenactors and collectors, we have people who are martial artists who study the use of the sword, and we've really become the preferred supplier to that particular group who has very high standards for their weapons. And
you like to believe that what you're making is the best, and to see it in action, not just to use it yourself and go, see, I made it and it's great and it works, but to actually see somebody else choose the work of your hands and say, yes, this is what I want, this is what I want to take on the field with me, and see them use it and depend on it. That's really satisfying. That's very validating. It says, yes, you really got the right idea, you really did it right.
I've been striving to develop the technique and the ability to truly accurately reproduce some of their work, and also to absorb the art style that was used and transfer it even through my own thoughts into a piece that would not look out of place was it taken back 400 years in the past. And now I teach a martial art known as armazari. Much of this I adapt to modern day martial arts, as well as the historical martial arts that I'm teaching.
It's a comprehensive martial art. Everything from unarmed to armed combat, whether fully armored or lightly armored, really covers the range. And Scott has taken his study and the study of others into that martial art and really tried to distill it into something practical and usable in the real world.
I'm trying to bring it all together to make it so that people who have these kind of interests, have access to the materials that they need to do the things they want to do, and of course improve my own artistic abilities and to improve the level of quality of our product as much as we can.
At the South Mississippi Renaissance Fair, there's something here for the entire family. There's so much that goes on for everyone to see. There's medieval magic, belly dancing, jousters, dancers, and even a pirate surprise.
But it looks so pretty.
And even though the fair's designed with the whole family in mind, that doesn't mean there aren't activities for the adults to enjoy. While there are pony rides for the little ones, even adults can get a kick out of taking a ride on one of the large war horses. And speaking of things that adults can enjoy, there's a brewery right here in South Mississippi. And in our next story, we toast the coast's newest craft beer creator, the Crooked Letter Brewing Company.
I've known Paul since we were probably 14 or probably 15 years old. We used to skateboard. He lived in Biloxi. I lived across the bay in D'Iberville.
My brother had a band, and their bassist needed to borrow a bass amp, which Paul had. And I drove the truck to go pick up the bass amp because I was the only one who could drive at the time. My brother was 16, he hadn't had maybe he was 15, I don't know. But Paul saw me in the truck and decided to go watch the band practice.
Yeah, we were in a band about the same time, about end of high school, right after, and then continued on for several years after that.
We're not in an active band right now, but it's because of this.
We've all been friends, you know, for well over 20 years. Not trying to give my age away.
Where's that bass amp? That bass amp, unfortunately, is gone.
It got flooded in Katrina.
Yeah, I think. Yeah. So, yeah.
Katrina killed it.
My degrees are in geology, but I'm trained basically as a paleontologist. So,
John taught us how to brew one summer. He brought all of his equipment down, and we were just in awe that you could, you know, make your own beer. I was like, I didn't realize, I never thought about it. I mean, you know, you just go and buy beer.
We were all beer drinkers, me and Paul and Wanda and our core group of friends. So I was like, hey, you know, I'm gonna bring some stuff down. We're gonna brew some beer. And they're like, all right, cool.
So John came into play as far as brewing, and of course he's always been in one or all of the band, you know, any and all of the bands we've ever been in.
So then they bought stuff. They started brewing, and
we talked amongst ourselves and close friends, you know, about starting a brewery, and just started actually thinking seriously about it because
it was right at the end of, you know, the whole economic downturn. Really hard to get a job.
You know, I'm a nurse, and you'd like to eventually get out of that. And Paul's in real estate, and the market was not looking that great. So
Paul calls me up and says, "Hey, you know, we want to open a brewery. We've been thinking about it for a while and planning on it, and we've been planning for a couple years. You want to come brew beer for us?" And I was like, "Well, yeah, of course I do."
All right, first tours are starting up. If everybody could get topped off.
Well, it's very good. It has definitely potential. It has good flavor. They're using good hops. They're using good product. It's all fresh. They're treating the water the right way. It's coming very close to the purity law.
If you brew a pot of coffee with a 10-cup machine and you use twice the amount of beans, you're going to get a bolder cup of coffee. It's really the same thing. Our stuff is a 15-barrel system, so we use probably 200 or 300 pounds more grain with the same amount of water. The grain to water ratio is higher on the grain side, which has to and does reflect on the profile of the beer. Not just crazy alcohol, it affects everything.
It takes about 3 weeks from start to finish, grain to glass.
Well, you can try them all.
My buddy likes the mystery one.
A lot of people like the mystery one.
No matter what you do out there, if your product sucks, people are eventually going to stop buying it, and the wow factor is going to be over.
And the beers that we have right now they're just a starting point. You know, we're going to always have new beers.
If we haven't built ourselves on something a little bit more creative than the next guy, and going out and creating relationships and letting people understand who you are, hear your story, and let them get to know you, then, you know, that's an opportunity for failure if you don't put yourself out there and with all your heart. This is, again, this is the biggest challenge we've ever had. Inevitably, there's always this factor of it all just working out somehow. And I think it has to do with being proactive, having drive, waking up every morning and you know, and trying to get past all the negatives and seeing all the positives that day has. the older we get, the less time we have to do something big and amazing that, just fulfills her dreams. And that's really what, that's one of my biggest things. Is to me, it's kind of a love story too. So it really is. So.
Sweet.
Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. I can't hit the high note.
And regrettably, that's all the time we have for this visit. If you got any questions about anything you've seen, you can always contact us at mpbonline.org/Mississippi Roads or visit our Facebook page. Till next time, I'm Walt Grayson. I'll be seeing you on Mississippi Roads.
Mississippi Roads is made possible in part by the generous support of viewers like you. Thank you.